When. Do you know the song Where the Green Grass Grows?
Want to record what?
Do you know the song Where the Green Grass Grows by Tim McGraw?
No.
Where the green grass grows, I'm gonna watch my corn pop up in rows.
Why do you think I would know that song? Ever?
Because it's country. You love country.
Love it. Country's amazing.
You're a huge fan of country music, Kevin.
Here's some juxtaposition for you. I went to a craft fair last night. This is probably the fourth one that I've been to with Holland, Dead Girl, Dead Art. Yeah, we had a little Twilight market. It was actually the biggest one. It's huge. And you know what's amazing? There's people walking all over. Everybody's got death hoodies on and death metal and black and fucking if you looked at it from the outside and you didn't know much about the culture, you'd probably be like, what the fuck is that? Is that a cult? What's going on? But everyone's so happy and so polite and pleasant. So many excuse me's, so many just people being nice. And there's fire performers and it's a great time. And everybody's just in the spooky season spirit. So it was great. Then we went to go pick up food from a place in Clifton Park on the way back to Holland's place. And just immediately walking in there, country music playing, people wearing your stereotype fall outfits with flannel, and girls have Uggs and jeans on and white shirts. The entire place smells like piss. Everyone's being rude to each other. I was like, wait, hold on. You mean the fucking metalheads that are wearing... I'm wearing a devil hoodie right now. You mean the metalheads have better treatment and courtesy and self-respect? And here's the thing. Nobody's hammered. Nobody's high. Nobody's walking around being wild. There was no one weirding out at the Twilight market. As soon as I walked into this bar to pick up our food to just bring home, because I wasn't gonna fucking be in a bar at 11 o'clock at night, but country music, vomit smell, horrible behavior, just everywhere, and it's those are the people who would very often show up to a Twilight market and point at those people and be like, they're fucking weirdos. And it's you're a fucking weirdo. You choose to spend your Saturday night in a place that smells like vomit, poisoning yourself around people who are not even that nice to you. No.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because you know that my favorite band is Bad Omens, right? That's my...
Yeah.
So the lead singer, Noah Sebastian, obviously, I wouldn't call Bad Omens metal, but they
have metal moments.
They get some of their audience from that fan.
They get heavy.
Yeah, definitely. Dethroned.
Their name's Bad Omens. That's pretty metal. All right.
I mean, that was pretty metal. But he, not so much lately because of mental health and he's taking breaks and stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
He used to wear cat ears and stream and make ooh woo sounds intentionally for fun and stuff.
Just having fun.
I have found historically that people that like that kind of music, that metal scene, the heavier scene, you're absolutely correct, because when I told somebody at work that my favorite band was Bad Omens, they played them and they were like, you like this kind of music? And I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
But dude, if you ask any bouncer, and this is a funny conversation that's probably come up a dozen times in the past couple of years, just hanging out with bouncers at different clubs, while I'm there for Dance Gavin Dance or Idola or one of those bands. I'm chatting with the bouncers when we're waiting to go out to dinner because we're standing by the side entrance. And all of them will agree. Country crowds are the fucking worst. Worst behaved, most fights, people just acting like assholes. And I really do think it has something to do with the fucking music and lyrics. This being someone who loves dark music, kind of channels through that, I love Sleep Token. I love Invent Animate. I love just so many good dark heavy metal bands that if you listen, people listen, they're that's the exact response. They're do you like this kind of music? Yeah, that's not a nice sound. I can't believe you're not listening to fucking whatever is being pushed through the algorithm all the time. But like
Taylor Swift's 22 re-release 5th time gold platinum edition bonus.
Yeah, but bouncers will tell you. They'll be like, yeah, the metal kids at least pick each other up in the pit and help each other. And that's always kind of been the case. Like I've always, in any metal crowd, I've felt way safer than almost any other crowd. You know?
We've had that conversation before.
Yeah, no, and it's like,
yeah.
and like, it's just so funny to hear it because then country people would like, it's projection at its finest, right? It's like it's literally like mass projection. It's a group going, wow, they're probably real heavy and mean and dark, and like us just over here with like rainbows and black clothes on, like, hey, what's up, guys? We're all just living our lives and loving each other.
Dude, you know what's funny about that? So you just made me think of something. So like when I went to a Ghost concert last year, everybody was dressing up like Ghost. You know, they had the face paint.
Yeah,
they
of
were
course.
all black and everything.
Yeah.
I just realized people dress up for like Ghost and like heavy metal costumes or concerts. But you know what?
What?
Country folk, they also dress up because they're wearing cowboy hats. Yep. They're wearing Levi jeans.
Oh,
they're wearing cowboy boots.
It's a ritual.
It's an outfit. It's a costume.
It's a costume, baby.
I'm gonna offend some people with that one, but yeah.
What? No, it is a costume. There's so many people
Clothes
that like
costumes.
Leave the suburbs to go to a country show, and they're like, "We're all country here," and it's like, "All right, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Do your thing. I'm not going to yuck your yum when it comes to the music, but I have noticed a marked difference in the audiences, and you know what? That's why I don't like Tim McGraw and the stupid country song. And it also just it doesn't resonate with me, man. Country,
you don't like,
but you know what? We're gonna start the podcast off on a good note. Hit me with a good note.
Yeah.
Is
that good?
Try again. This is your crutch now.
That's my sound effect.
This is your crutch.
It's my go-to.
It's a crutch now.
It's great. It's a crow.
It's
You're mispronouncing it. It's crow.
It's a crow.
Crow. Speaking of which, crows are in my jam this week.
I'm just gonna. All right, you ready to clap?
Oh, you remembered.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. On time, every time. Welcome back to another spooky episode of the Unpop Podcast. I am your Capitan Total Siempre, Kevin Miner. He, him. With me, as always, is
Magnum Nopus, otherwise known as Odie Matthews, the chef cooking up content, they, them.
Oh, you're going by Magnum Nopus now.
You know,
official personality change.
You know, I was thinking.
Here we go.
You know, why not mention that I am Magnum Nopus at the start of this?
Yeah.
Maybe somebody doesn't know that, and they'll come enjoy my content.
Magnum Nopus. Oh, we should probably start plugging stuff at the end of this, too. We should be more organized. You know what? January 1st, we'll do it.
All right. January 1st. We'll put it off till
Let's set it now.
It's like waiting on taxes.
It's our New Year's resolution is to be more professional. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't know. You want to have a quick brand meeting before we get into this? You want to see how our brand's doing?
Yeah, should we do roll?
Yeah, roll call. I am the president and Capitan, also the person who does all the roll call and keeps the minutes of these meetings. Present. Magnum Nopus, a.k.a. Odie Matthews, cooking up content, the chef. Present?
I brought the snacks.
You brought snacks. Present.
Okay,
present. The snacks are present. Nothing to report. Quarter 4 is well on its way. This has been nothing but a sunk cost into time and effort for our own mundane entertainment. We are still not succeeding as a brand, and by definitions that we have set forth as a brand are that thereby succeeding as a brand.
Have you been putting these episodes out?
Maybe.
I thought this was all like rehearsal.
It kind of is, but also people are listening. So we are a brand that's failing, but because we're in the hole and we want to be in the hole, we're succeeding.
Like Bane.
Still.
We're in the hole like Bane.
Like Bane. Yeah. What was that hole called? It had a name. It was a pit.
The pit.
It was just the pit.
The Sarlacc pit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Mordor.
All right. What are we talking about this week, Odie?
We're talking about zombies. And
no,
zombies in pop
we're
culture.
not. We're talking about demons, and specifically, I have compiled a list of demon lord related anime. Just jumping off of what we did last week, that we would do Demon Lord anime. First one, Konosuba, absolute. No, I'm just kidding.
I just had a feeling you were going to do anime.
No, we're going to talk about demons, and so instead, I have an alphabetized list of all the demons in Magic: The Gathering, starting with Abhorrent Overlord. It is a 5 and 2 black pip demon that you can play. No, I'm just kidding.
What is happening?
I had 2 different demon topics prepared as jokes.
Yeah, apparently.
This one's a zombie crocodile demon. That sounds like a bad movie waiting to happen.
So before we lose all listenership, I'm gonna
Archdemon of Unks. All right.
I'm gonna step in here for a second.
Keep going. Yeah, hit me.
You're doing great, Kevin. You're doing great.
Thanks.
I'm just gonna step in for a second if you would let me. So for Spooky Month, we've been talking about spooky topics, and one of the things that we both wanted to talk about was demonology and exorcist and demons and stuff in I kind of broadened it out a little bit. We kind of just said we were going to talk about it. So what I've done is put together a little report about the history of demons and demonology and exorcisms and stuff in pop culture, but also where it got all of its influences from, like, real life and real life examples and history and stuff like that. And then we're going to kind of take that all the way up into, spoiler alert, the Exorcist movie from 1973, because that is like the pinnacle of it all. And we're going to kind of talk about that movie and what it did for the genre and everlasting effects and so forth. And then we're going to talk about some movies that may or may not do a good job of handling this subject.
Yes.
Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. What's the difference between a demon and a devil? Let's establish that first off.
Well, both are fictional.
That's not a difference.
Oh.
You know what? Just take it away. Take it away. I've got stuff that I can throw in, and I'll participate where necessary.
Honestly, there's definitely going to be spots in here that I think you'll be able to kind of interject your opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
Hit me.
So, first part, the beginnings, Christianity and religion. Now, I'm not afraid to admit this publicly. I am an atheist, but that does not mean that I don't respect other religions. So I know that, obviously, if you believe what you believe, that's fine. But just know that I'm writing this from the standpoint of somebody who doesn't believe in this. So if it comes across like I don't believe in it, that's why. So
there it is.
So the term exorcism is most commonly associated with Christianity, but specifically the subset of Christianity, Catholicism.
Yes.
And it's mostly due for the fact that there are numerous explicit references of Jesus casting out spirits in the Bible, in the Gospel specifically, the first 5 books of the New Testament, known as the Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Okay.
So, and then my next thing that I wrote down was the first 4 books of the New Testament are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yes, they are.
So they tell, obviously, for those of you that don't know, if you don't know about the most popular book on the planet, Jesus is from Nazareth.
All time.
Of all time. He was a Jewish prophet whose life and teachings became the basis of Christianity.
Yep.
And the first mention of Jesus casting away evil spirits appears in the Gospel of Mark, which is thought to have been written around 70 AD, so about 40 years after Jesus' death. All of the Gospels were written at least 40 years, if not more, after Jesus' death. Okay. The first Bible wasn't put together until roughly between 200 and 275 AD, so well over 200 years after Jesus' death. But there are numerous stories in the Bible of Jesus casting out spirits. My personal favorite one is the one involving the pigs. Do you know that story?
Yes, keep going.
Where there's a bunch of pigs on a farm, and they have there's a demon kind of like messing with them, and so Jesus puts the demon into the pigs, and the pigs all run into the water and drown. I think that's really funny and also a waste of bacon. But there are tons of stories of Jesus basically performing exorcisms and casting out spirits in the Bible. These also not just span across Christianity, but like I said, religion in a whole. There are references to this in Buddhism, Islam, like I said, Judaism, which some people consider separate than Christianity, Catholicism, which some people consider separate than Christianity. It is something that's common across all religions. and even can be traced back to like Native American cultures where they've had, they believe in evil spirits, and Incans, Aztecs, they all had some kind of rite or ritual that involved casting out evil spirits, demons, entities, and so forth. Okay. So this is not a new concept that was popularized by the Catholic Church of modern day or anything like that. This is something that's been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, no, I am gonna jump in and add to that. The Chaldeans are credited with originally kind of bringing up the concept of demons. Really, like when it comes to demons and devils, the historic significance is it is rooted in humanity's fear of the unknown, right? A daimon, as it were, in or daimonos in Greek, is a supernatural being. It's, once again, like we've talked about vampires, we've talked about a lot of this stuff. It starts very vague, and then as it gets applied to institutionalized and then culturally relegated, instead of institutionalized, culturally relegated institutions such as religion, society, folklore, just the way that we construct narratives over time throughout history. As it becomes more specific, we get the forms that we are most readily associating the words with today. Now, I asked in the beginning what's the difference between a devil and a demon, and it's because demon comes from that daimonos, and where they separate culturally and where they are most notably separated now is behavior. Demons are really
Rascals.
most often, they're most often associated with possession. You're talking about exorcism. Devils are very often associated instead of with possession, but with contracts. Devils are associated with the idea of bartering for human souls. Devils are working specifically for the devil, right? Going back to, so the Christian origins did kind of twist this and bring this, it's not just Christianity, but the Roman Empire, so, Roman Catholicism as well. But, like, devils will typically, especially now, more than ever, but, like, this has changed throughout history, as I said, they're the ones who are, like, showing up, and they're like, well, you trade your soul if you want to be good at blues, like, there's that, like, the classic Faustian, that's more of a devil, right? You trade your soul for
Blaze.
X. Yeah.
Ghost Rider.
They are putting value on things that are intrinsic within humans. Now, demons...
Right.
As they have existed, and as you're going through this, I think we might find a couple moments to come back to this. They oftentimes are an expression of a human attribute that when it is out of control can cause harm to other humans. So like the devil himself, Lucifer, right? Prince of demons, prince of devils, like the literal overlord of hell. What's his sin? Pride. And so like really he is the physical and also like kind of ethereal spiritual manifestation of pridefulness, in that it is unrelegated, unmitigated, unfathomably deep and irreconcilable. It's irrevocable, right? Like you cannot get rid of that pride. It's there. It's eternal. It's the exact opposite of wanting good for all of humankind. So that's where that is. And then each of them kind of like, they're like the 7 princes of hell, right? There's 7 deadly sins. There's a lot of this ends up aligning itself over time. I just wanted to make sure that we broke that down.
No, I think that's a good example, because I am not going to mention devils at all, because like
we're talking about
typically demons. It's demons.
It's demons, baby.
Because the devil doesn't have time for that. He's got to do his taxes.
You already made a deal with the devil for extra views on your videos on YouTube.
How did you know?
Because you got more views on your videos on YouTube.
So I must have made a deal with the devil. I'm actually about to praise demons in this report.
Woo!
That was part of the deal.
Yeah.
Demons are cute little fun-loving guys you should let inside.
Do it.
Okay, so we're gonna do a big jump here. Like I said, roughly around 70 AD, the Gospel of Mark is where like the first kind of like demon get out of my body deal with Jesus happened. So I'm actually gonna jump about 850 years. 1850 years into the future, because I want to get us rolling into the way that we 1912.
Okay.
I want to get us rolling into how we see demons in the modern age. There's a lot of stuff between Christianity and the start of the 20th century.
Okay.
However, I like movies, so I want to get to that part.
Yeah. That's enough preamble about the ancient stuff. If you want more of it, go on YouTube. There's plenty of people doing videos on it.
Absolutely. Yep. So we're going to tie this in. I want to talk about 3 specific instances where this kind of like inspiration for this happened. The first 2 are actually, so Kevin, let me ask you this question.
Hit me.
Were you ever told, or did you ever hear that the first time an exorcist was ever shown on film was the 1973 Exorcism movie?
I think so. I don't know.
Well, you'd be wrong, because all the way back in 1912, a short film called From the Manager to the Cross shows Jesus healing someone possessed by a demon.
From the manger to the cross. You said manager.
Yes, I did. I autocorrected.
From the manager to the cross.
It autocorrected to manager on my document. That's
From
hilarious.
the manger to the cross. Okay, yeah, keep going.
You are correct, because my next sentence, I spelled it right.
Okay.
From the man I almost said manager.
From the manager to the cross. It's I mean.
So this is a short film. It is. It's exactly what you would expect from something from 1912. It is literally mostly text of Bible verses up on screen, and then you can watch this on YouTube if you look it up. It's not good, and don't. I watched some of it. It's Bible verses up on screen, and then really, really poorly acted like parts of the gospel, like Jesus. Like there's an actor of Jesus, and like you see him like do the healing and stuff, and then like a minute of text on screen, and then like 10 seconds of somebody doing something, and then a minute of text on screen.
So
it's very funny.
Meme gifs, basically Christian meme gifs that your aunt would send you, is what this short film is.
The original Facebook posts.
Yeah. All right. Great. We love it.
So that is the first depiction on film. Now, granted, that's not necessarily an exorcist, but an exorcism, I should say, but it is showing somebody having a demon in them and somebody handling that problem. The next time it was shown was in 1927 in another silent film called The Kings of Kings, which opens with Jesus dramatically delivering Mary Magdalene from her 7 demons, representing the 7 deadly sins. Same thing as the 1912, not as much. You can also find this one on YouTube. Not as much text on screen of Bible verses. A little bit more, definitely higher production. 15 years later, 1927.
Wait,
this is
Jesus is getting rid of all 7 deadly sins at once.
Yes, because he's amazing.
She's
the original.
She had all the sins. She was
banking.
Like, I'm doing all the sins. Look, if you're doing all the sins, you automatically can't be doing sloth. Like that's like you just like they negate each other to some, like if you're actively murdering like or like the 7 deadly sins, like if you're actively doing some of those, you sloth is just impossible. Like
no, because you do the other 6 first, and then you be lazy,
and then you've
done them all.
But you can't do them all at the same time is what I'm saying. Like Jesus is like, I'm gonna get rid of all of them right now, and it's like, well, one of them's not really present. Anyway, keep going. It's just fun. I've never thought about it that way, but I'm like, some of them really do negate each other. You know,
it's really fun.
Yeah. All right, keep going.
It's like the movie 7. So that is like the first 2. Now, granted, those are literally just early depictions of passages from the Bible that then some filmmaker turned into the first Passion of the Christ movies, basically. So as great as that is, I would like to take a second to deviate and talk about what I would consider probably the most crucial, pivotal, and most famous, even though it's not widely known. But this story that I'm about to tell you plays a huge part in inspiring future works of art involving demonology and exorcism.
Odie, I've already seen Passion of the Christ, baby. We've been over this.
That's the report.
Sorry.
I can't wait for Passion of the Christ 2. Jesus back in the habit. So
what's funny about that is habits are what nuns wear. You made a pun. You didn't even know it.
I'm good at that.
There you go. Jesus,
All right,
Jesus back in the habit.
Have you ever heard of the exorcism of Roland Doe?
No.
Now, that is obviously not a real name. This is just the
you
name
mean Roland Doe's not a real name?
Well, it's like John Doe. It's spelled
I know.
D-O-E.
Yeah.
So this is a series of events.
Whole fake family of Does out there somewhere. Real pissed about this. All right, keep going.
Joe was his father.
Yeah.
John was his father. Sorry. So, anyways, this is a series of
was
events
he rolling
in the late.
In the dough? All right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
All right, get out. So, this was a series of events in the late 1940s involving a young boy, rumored to be around like 14. It was said that this took place in 1949. He was born in 35, but again, dates are a little, up in the air. But basically, Roland Doe was believed to be possessed by a demon. So the case began after him and his family used a Ouija board that ended up leading to strange occurrences and behaviors that were attributed later to possession.
Oh, okay.
Now, so the family goes to get help from various clergy, right?
Wait, what year is this?
Late 40s, sometime in the 40s.
He's got a Ouija
40s.
board in the 40s?
He was born in 35.
Wow, I wonder what that looks like.
Probably a lot of war.
A Ouija?
A lot of depression.
The Ouija board.
Oh,
yeah, it must have been wild. All right, keep going.
Yeah, I wonder what the app was like.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff with this story, so I just kind of broke it down. I'm leaving out like specific names and stuff because I don't want to get bogged down in this story. But basically, they seek a lot of help from a lot of different priests and clergy around the country. Notably in Maryland and Washington D.C. Those are the two that come up quite a bit, and they reportedly involved intense rituals with signs of supernatural disturbances.
Okay.
So during one exorcism, because he went through, I think it was like 67, apparently.
Okay.
They had to do this like 67 times, which makes me think somebody wasn't doing their job right.
Yeah.
If you have to do an exorcism that many times. But during one of the exorcisms, the boy allegedly slipped one of his hands out of his restraints, broke a bed spring from under the mattress, and used it as an impromptu weapon, slashing the priest's arm and resulting in the exorcism being halted.
Oh my God.
I just think it's so funny. Because, like, if that happened, it's probably because the priest was doing something wrong and bad. But if it didn't happen, the priest probably, like, cut himself on the way out and was like, yeah, this kid fucking attacked me.
Yeah.
Like, just embellishing in the stories. So, more exorcisms take place around Maryland and Washington, D.C., like I said, but so many of them failed, and additional incidents would occur, including unexplained scratches on Roland's body, like markings, bruises, he would talk really weird, gurgle, things like that. So they decide to move to St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Famous for exorcisms, So this is kind of where the story winds down, but two priests visit Roland's home, and where they allegedly, again, I'm using that word, but they allegedly observed a shaking bed, flying objects, the boy speaking in a gurgly voice, and exhibiting an aversion to anything sacred.
Sounds like it just had some bad grape juice.
So, it continues. During this last exorcism, words such as evil and hell, along with other various marks, appeared on his body. Allegedly, during the Litany of Saints portion of the exorcism ritual, the boy's mattress began to shake, and one priest broke another priest's nose during the process somehow.
Yep.
It's not explained how. It's just literally, when I was researching this, it was like, yeah, one of the priests just like broke the other guy's nose. And when it was all over, one of the priests told the reporter that the subject of the exorcism, aka Roland Doe, went on to live a rather ordinary life after the demon left his body. So, you might be thinking, wow, that's crazy. What, undeniable proof of demons and exorcisms.
Yeah.
Well, would you be surprised that this case has been investigated up, down, and all around, and everyone agrees that it was pretty much bullshit because, at age 16, he apparently was like, he had like depression and mental issues and like had a lot of other things going on with him. And when somebody investigated it, there was no proof that like the bed shake and that the mattress was like, a spring was taken and used as a weapon. Like, it is very clear that, if you would believe it or not, the priests involved kind of maybe exaggerated to make, themselves look good, almost as if the church needs people to believe in this stuff so the church can have a reason to exist. It's really weird. Crazy.
That is crazy.
But yeah, Now, the reason I bring up this story is because it inspired a lovely young man named by the name of William Peter Blatty. He wrote the 1971 novel The Exorcist, which brings us to the 1973 Exorcist movie being credited, even though as we have learned it's not the first, but it's being credited as the first movie to feature an on-screen possession.
Great.
Which technically is true because, I mean, the two silent films, it's not like the person's, like, changing makeups and acting possessed. It's just a story from the Bible. So, realistically, this is the first one, but I think it's interesting that there's those two silent films first.
You've connected a lot of dots here, Magnum. Keep going.
I'm doing my best.
Also, I looked it up, and here's a really funny thing about Ouija boards. First off, there's no mention of a Ouija board in the possession thing, because I was looking that up while you were chatting. But... a lot of people are assuming that Ouija boards are that Ouija comes from the French "oui" and the German "ja," like yes. So like a yes board. But what it actually is, it at least what's cited here for the etymology, is that Helen Peters Nosworthy asked the board to name itself, and when asked what the word meant, it responded, "Good luck." The board, essentially a medium said, "Hey, can you name yourself?" And the board was like, "Ouija." And she was like, what does that mean?" And the board was like, "Good luck." Like, I just like the idea that like this lady who was like supernaturally, inclined, asked this board to name itself. It gave a name, Ouija, right? And then she's like, "What's the name mean?" And it's like, "Good luck," which could be what the name means, or also it could just be the board saying like, "Yeah, good luck figuring that out."
That's what I was thinking. Like
Ouija board, the original troll. All right, keep going.
So, are you ready to learn a little bit more about the Exorcist movie?
Yes, and I'm gonna minimize this because I'm really interested into why the Parker brothers were so into Ouija and why it was originally innocent. Like, it's not actually attributed to like witchcraft and demon stuff right away. Anyway, keep going.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, this movie came out in 1973 based on the 1971 novel. The film's production involved innovative techniques, compelling narrative, and a strong commitment to authenticity, which together contributed to its long-lasting impression on the horror genre.
Yes.
I like this movie a lot.
It's a good movie.
Be honest, I had never seen it up until recently because as someone who was raised as a Christian, I wasn't allowed to watch any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted to watch the new one, Exorcist Believer, which I am going to talk about.
Okay.
So I went back and watched the original, and it's just it's so good. So William Friedkin took over the directing role. Let me scroll down here. Okay, so like I said, the 1949, because that's around when everyone thinks the Roland Doe stuff happened, is what basically inspired all of this. Because from 1949 to 1971, the demonic possession in media attention just like exploded. World War II is over. We're going into the Korean War. We have Vietnam in between. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
The Great Depression. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in American culture that you see lots of trends, and we've talked about this before, where when something starts to blow up, people lean into it in order to kind of forget the other harsh realities of the world.
Yes.
So this definitely like kind of created a little bit of a boom because from 1973 to now, as we'll talk about here soon, there has been dozens, if not hundreds, if not maybe thousands of movies about this subject because, it's something that's so simple and so easy, but yet so effective in scaring.
Yep.
If done right. So one of the cool things that's nice is the original writer of the novel, Blatty, ended up working on the screenplay, and like I said, William Friedkin took over the director role. Now, what's funny about that is William Friedkin pretty much hated the original script, but obviously ended up working through it and ended up creating the masterpiece that we know. Additionally, William Friedkin was not a nice director. Just a couple like interesting things that happened on set. The scene where Reagan is flopping around on her bed.
Yep.
She's actually strapped into a harness and it broke and it permanently damaged her back. And in the shot in the movie where she's screaming in pain, that's her actually screaming in pain because the thing fucked up her back. The scene where Chris McNeil the mother of Reagan, gets like pushed into the wall and falls down. She actually got pushed so hard that she hurt her coccyx and has permanent damage there as well.
Wow, this movie made with backbreaking effort.
9 people died during production.
Wow.
This is famously had a cursed production. The set randomly burned down one day without anyone knowing why.
Damn.
I should have wrote more of these down. These are all off the top of my head. I didn't even think about talking about this stuff. But what's even funnier about that is the cast said during interviews, because I watched the making of the 1998 25-year Exorcist documentary is really, really good and interesting.
Yep.
But the director was apparently like really harsh, really mean, made everyone do a lot of takes, but everyone still really loved him and like was really proud of the work. So it's kind of nice to know that this director was kind of an asshole, but people like respected his vision. Doesn't mean you should be an asshole and like permanently damage your actors, but
That's
you know.
true.
So Ellen Burstyn was cast as Chris McNeil. Ellen Burstyn, phenomenal actress, looking great for 90 years old. Mm-hmm. Now, when it came to portraying Reagan, a lot of parents wouldn't let their daughter, because she's a young girl, apply and like try out for the role, including a young, can you guess what famous scream queen slasher final girl wanted to play Reagan in The Exorcist, but would go on to play Laurie Strode
Jamie
instead?
Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, baby.
I was going to say Jamie Lee Curtis before you even started giving me the hint.
Okay.
She's just like the right age for it.
She's just great.
Well,
she wasn't allowed to.
I was doing math rather than actually like trying to pick an actress. It's like, what actress is this age that would have been
Helen Mirren?
Yeah.
But yeah, she. So Reagan. What I find is funny is the mother of the actress of Reagan.
Yeah.
Linda Blair. Her mom said in an interview during that documentary that I watched.
Yeah.
She was like, "Yeah, I didn't really care if she played, this character because I was raised Christian and the devil is a fictional character in our house." And I'm like, if you were raised Christian, the devil is very much not fictional. Like, he plays a big role in that story.
Hold on. Like, that's grouping too much, because the devil is a fictional character. So
in the Bible and Christianity, he's a fallen angel.
It's literally a book, and it's fictional, and I think it's okay. Like, what I'm saying is, like, Christians will say that it's okay. There are Christians who are like, yeah, the devil's fictional.
I just think, okay, I know that. I'm personally saying that's really funny because two things. One, the whole book is fictional, but two, I was raised as a Southern Baptist that if you believe in Jesus, you believe the devil is.
Well, that's Southern Baptist, not
Kevin,
Christianity.
I'm saying from my perspective.
I know. I'm just.
Anyways, it's just all fake. Yeah. What I also think is really cool about the casting, and this is the last part I want to mention about the casting.
Yeah.
Max von, can never say his last name. Sydow, I think.
I
want to say he's like Swedish, but he was cast as Father Marin.
Yeah.
And there's also Father Karras, but he was Max, I'm going to call him Max, was only like, I think he was in his 40s. And obviously Father Marin in The Exorcist is an old man. So he was such a good actor that William Friedkin wanted him so bad. And Max was willing to do the role that he sat through the old man makeup. Honestly, wow. I did not know that the first time I watched the movie. I was like, wow, I would never have guessed he was in old man makeup. Definitely not for 1973.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a lot of the movie lover in me just needs to take a second to appreciate the innovative techniques and just how well this movie was put together behind the scenes from a cinematography standpoint. There was things created such as like rotating camera gimbals and gigs in order to capture certain shots. There was tons and tons of practical effects, including Reagan levitating off of the bed during the exorcism. They actually had her connected to wires that they would paint in like, it was like white, black, so like zebra stripes basically.
Yeah.
Because when the light would reflect off of those the cables, you couldn't see them, as opposed if they were all black or all white, but doing it like dotted basically allowed the light to see through the cables, so you couldn't see them. So her lifting off the bed is practical. When she throws up on Father Karras, that like pea stew kind of stuff.
Yes.
that was an accident that it hit him in the face. They had like a tube attached to her makeup, and the guy pumped it up too high because the room was cold, and it went into his mouth and like splattered all over his face.
Gross.
So lots of practical effects. Even the head turnaround, they built an animatronic that would, you know, turn its head around and like the eyes would blink and stuff. Which funny story about that. Linda Blair, who played Reagan, had to share a makeup trailer with the animatronic head, and she said it was very uncomfortable to be like next to a bust of your makeup head. And then obviously on top of that, you know, besides all the practical effects, which I could talk about on and on and on, the use of sound design and the score that was composed by Mike Oldfield just absolutely elevates this movie to a whole nother level. Something that unfortunately none of the other Exorcist movies really do very well, but just wanted to give some stuff out there, like the way that these guys made this film and creating special rigs and camera mounts and the way they did the practical effects and everything. For 1973, it's just all phenomenal. What I also really think is what I think is interesting about the creation of the Exorcist movie is during the exorcism itself, you know how like you can see their breath?
Mm-hmm.
So that room was chilled overnight by 4 giant industrial AC units to drop it 30 below zero. But they only had an hour to film before the lights would heat back up the room. So it took them 60 days to film the scenes where their breath was there. Damn. And what I find so interesting about that is nowadays we would just CGI the breath. But back then they had to physically chill the room so when the actors spoke that you could see their breath, which is just so like simple, but like the dedication to film that 60 days in a row for only an hour at a time, and the result is just incredible.
Oh yeah.
You know? So, and speaking of all of that, there's.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I was gonna burp. I didn't want to burp on the thing. Okay, so. The release of The Exorcist, right? Obviously, if you've never seen the movie, girl gets possessed, priest come to save the day, the end. That's the whole movie. She does some weird shit in between, like peeing her pants and having a potty mouth. But overall, it's pretty good. So when it released, right, this is where it really matters, because making of the movie wouldn't matter if it didn't do anything. But it was met with tons of controversy, mainly from the Catholic Church, and met with mixed reviews. So, luckily, the marketing strategy capitalized on the film's shocking content and the idea that audiences wanted to experience this genuine fear of something that they didn't know about. Because one thing that I want people to kind of try to imagine, and it's really, really hard, but think all the way back to 1933. You're in the theater, you've never seen a movie before, and you watch the 1933 King Kong, where what appears to be, at the time, a giant gorilla, like, fighting T-Rexes and, you know, stealing a woman and climbing up on the Empire. That blew their fucking minds.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It was something they'd never experienced before. So even in 1973, though we think of that, you know, to some extent more as a modern time, nobody had ever seen anything like this on film before. Yes, there had been horror movies. Yes, there has been scary movies. Yes, there was blood and gore. But something like this that was so down to earth enough to be relatable, but, ballooned enough into the unrealistic category to be scary, that it really hit a perfect market that had never been tapped before involving this kind of subject matter. Especially when you consider, you know, the 60s and 70s where pretty big on the boom of, you know, cults and Christian cults and religious cults and things. Like, you had all this stuff going that just worked in its favor. So,
yeah.
There is one infamous part of The Exorcist where before the possession fully kicks off, Reagan's in the hospital and she's getting all of these medical tests done. And what is in the documentary that I watched, they were interviewing people that were coming out of the theater early, like they were walking out of the theater, and they interviewed like a few of them, and a few of them were like, I left because of the medical scenes. Like the medical scenes made people so uncomfortable because they were so realistic and so like just square. And
that
I
makes
agree,
sense.
like I don't like those scenes either. Like that, not for me.
Yeah. Smart choice showing that in the movie. You know?
Yes, I think and this just kind of enhances again the way that I love this movie is done, because yes, you have the fear of the possession and what it does to the body, but then you also have all these fears of Like, the movie focuses on what it's like to be the mother going through this and the fear that can come with that, going through these medical tests and the fear of that. You even get some of Father Karras who loses his mother in the film, and like the fear of that. And like, and it's just all like the way they capitalize on fear, and it's not reliant just on the possession and what's going on with Reagan, and the way they incorporate that fear throughout the story with every character is really, really well done. So Exorcist comes out, huge hit. The church, Bobby Graham, I think is his name, the really famous evangelical, what the fuck am I trying to say? The pastor, Bobby Graham, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He was advocating against it. But overall, it did well enough to spawn 2 sequels. One of which is considered one of the worst movies ever made, Exorcist 2. The third one, pretty good, in my opinion.
Okay.
Second one, awful. Third one, not bad. And then it also spawned 2 prequels. But you know what, Kevin?
Yeah.
Would you believe that none of that matters because a legacy sequel called Exorcist Believer came out? And look, I don't want to go into too much detail.
I mean, my answer is yes, I would believe that.
You believe?
I believe.
I don't want to go into too much detail about it because it's nowhere near the first one. But you and I are going to have we're going to do a topic about legacy sequels because I think that we have officially reached a breaking point. For reference of how bad this movie is, the guy that made Pineapple Express, Your Highness, and The Sitter made
Danny McBride?
Exorcist Believer.
Danny McBride?
David Gordon Green.
Oh. Is Danny McBride in that movie? Because you're just listing Danny McBride movies. Is he in The Exorcist Believer? Okay. Just figured I'd ask.
Here's the last thing I want to say about the Exorcist movie, and it's all of it, is the director openly has a quote about how he did not want a legacy sequel to be made, and he openly says, the dude that made Pineapple Express is now going to touch my property. Fuck you. Like, he was not, and it's awful. Like, spoiler alert, the Friday of this episode coming out, I'll be doing a video on Exorcist Believer on Magnum Nopus.
Woo!
If you want to know more.
It's bad.
It is.
It's more of a Nopus.
I'll be honest with you.
Less Hopus, more Nopus.
It's spoiler alert, it's fucking terrible. And look, I very rarely consider myself bored watching a movie. Like, it takes a lot for me to be like, wow, this is boring.
But you got bored.
Even bad movies, bad movies are historically considered are boring to some extent. Yeah. This was anyways. Okay. So that is kind of The Exorcist. So now, with having the groundwork of Christianity and how demons start with Jesus casting them out of people, and the 2 silent films, the real life event,
Chaldeans.
the real life event from the 40s that inspired the 1971 book, that inspired the 1973 movie, that inspired this entire subgenre of horror. So if you don't mind, Kevin, I would like to now talk about some real life exorcisms and hauntings and possessions that inspired works of movies.
Sounds great.
These are a mixture of things that inspired movies, but also just some real life instances that I thought were kind of fucking funny.
Yeah.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose, a movie from 2005.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Is based. Have you seen it? I haven't seen this one. It's based on the real life Annalise Michael, who underwent 67 exorcisms. So Roland Doe, I think he went through like hundreds, but she went through it in 1975 voluntarily. Now, the reason I emphasize 1975 is because this would have been like about 2 years after the Exorcist movie. So again, going back to my point about how this like kind of started this wave, right?
Yep.
Like in the documentary that I watched about the Exorcist, they interviewed some real life priests, and the amount of like exorcism requests that came in the 70s, like people wanted them to do their cats, their dogs, their house. Like this became a fad in a way.
Well, Odie, what you're really touching on there is that was the ramp up to the Satanic Panic. Really, it was the roots of the Satanic Panic. The Satanic Panic started hot on the heels of movies like The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. Eventually, what really ends up kicking it off is Michelle Remembers, which was a memoir that used a type of psychotherapy that is now regarded as being like largely, it's just discredited entirely. Like it's just like it's the same thing as like a lie detector test. Like it's just it's been discredited completely. But really, so The Exorcist, the dealing with possessions, as it would turn out, some people, and not children, but adults, are very impressionable. And if their belief system outweighs their own cognitive ability to critically assess the world around them with a level of realistic skepticism, they just kind of jump into this realm of like, oh, no, but that's how that actually happens, and I've seen something similar, so the devil's alive and well. Yeah. All right.
1 + 1 = 3.
Exactly.
But so I did a little bit of digging on this one because I was like, wow, 67, like Roland Doe. Yeah. Again, the fact that his story was so widely known, and then all of a sudden she's like, well, I need 67 exorcisms. Here's what ultimately happened. She had a seizure at 16. Yeah. And then she was diagnosed with depression and was sent to a psychiatric hospital. Yeah. And then they decided to do exorcisms. So it sounds to me like she just had some mental, issues that we didn't know how to identify.
How many people in history do you think just had like epilepsy and Tourette's that like were being exorcised and like burned alive and stuff just for years? Just people with like, because like it's a funny thing. Like we don't really put the lens on this, but like psychology didn't exist as a well-known and practiced, studied discipline or profession until a little over a century ago, and even then it was a lot of quack professionals. It's a lot of trial and error. Even anatomy and physiology, like we're just starting to uncover parts of the brain. Like we barely still can understand the depths of the complex workings there. So of course throughout history there are probably tales, so many of people who are just like mentally handicapped or ill that were being exorcised. All right, keep going.
Oh, that's I did some digging, and that's what I came up with is that she was 16, had a seizure, which people were like, oh, possessed, and then she was depressed, and then obviously she had some other stuff going on.
Possessed, if you have no idea of like how seizures work scientifically, like like if you have no basis for it, right? Like if you take the fundamental understanding that we can establish for ourselves, once again, the critical thinking ability, right? Like if you take that away from people, or if you don't give them another option other than like strict religious teachings, right? Like they're going to see someone having a seizure and go, oh my God, demons. Like that's just how that's going to work.
I mean, it's literally why when we sneeze, we say bless you, because people believe that when you sneeze, demons get into your body.
I say it just because it's fun. I actually say it when people burp too. Like, just like, bless you.
When they fart, bless you.
Blessings. Many blessings upon you.
I gave a couple more on this list that I think are really funny.
All right.
Do you know the name Mother Teresa? Have you ever heard of this person?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, she was bad. She was a bad person. Spoiler alert. Mother Teresa was a bad person because she withheld medicine from dying people because she believed that God would heal them. She's a bad person.
Yeah, that's a wild choice, Mother.
No, she was like genuinely a bad person.
That's a wild choice.
Yeah. So Mother Teresa allegedly underwent an exorcism late in life under the direction of the Archbishop of Calcutta, Henry de Souza, after he noticed that she seemed to be extremely agitated in her sleep and feared she might be under attack from the evil one.
Wow.
So I looked into this a little bit more. When they say later in life, she was fucking old as shit, and she was twitching in her sleep, and this guy thought she was possessed. Hilarious.
Once again, hilarious. if the ability to critically think and assess the world around you is not greater than your religiosity, you will assume demons. Like, yes.
I mean, she was 87.
Almost always. She
died at 87, and this happened in the 90s, so she would have been in her 80s.
Dude, I've come across people, like, it's the same thing as fucking flat Earth, right? Like, it's literally the same thing. Like, it's of course, it's not the same exact thing, but, like, it's the same function. Like, people pointing at something and going, that's demons, because it's someone twitching in their sleep or having a seizure or something's wrong with them, it's the same thing as the person going, well, we haven't been able to see it. Like, it's not like I've gone up into space. So, yeah, Earth's flat, bro. Like, same fucking thing. All right, keep going.
100%. This one actually made me laugh, and I should have gotten more information, but I could not.
Demons,
I could
the
not
flat
find
Earth
any
of the religious world. Who knew?
This one is. I wanted to find more information on this, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Bobby Jindal, the former governor of Louisiana.
I love this.
Wrote an essay in 1994 about his personal experience of performing an exorcism on an intimate friend named Susan while he was in college.
Right in the thick of the satanic panic. Love it. It's great.
Dude.
Right in the thick of it. That's around the time that the satanic panic had turned its eyes on Magic the Gathering, actually. 1993 and 94 was when parents were burning Magic the Gathering cards that their kids had because they thought that it was, like, satanic. We've only just gotten back to being able to use, like there's a seance board in Magic the Gathering and different, like, archetypes. They actually had to veer away from anything, like there was, like, a card from back in the day called Season of the Witch. There's all these cards that were making people, because it was related to, like, historical occult and things that were generally regarded as being in the realm of magic, the satanic panic pointed at it and was like, satanic. And, that's the funny thing is, like, someone like Bobby Jindal writing an essay about that just shows that, like, he was like, he's more devout in the notion that demons would exist other than, like, there might just be problems for someone, Well,
what I find funny about that is, for one, he wrote an essay about how he performed
an exorcism,
the Exorcist, on a friend.
Yep.
And, I did some digging on this guy, and, because the friend was a woman, there's some... I'm not going to go into too much detail here because we're a friendly podcast, but, he might have been a little bit on the ist side of hating women.
Oh, wow.
Maybe embellish a little bit. But anyways, the last one I want to talk about that I thought was kind of sad and brings me into another point before we dive into the last section of my report. Hope you're having fun so far. A Romanian nun in 2005.
Yep.
So 2005. And this is why it's sad. She was killed by a priest during an exorcism because he believed that she couldn't be saved. And this case inspired the movies Beyond the Hills and The Crucifixion.
Yep.
But besides that, the reason I saved this one for last before we get into the talking about the movies is this highlights one of many cases where this fabrication and this embellishing of exorcisms results in people losing their lives. Sometimes. This is where the line goes too far. It's all good and fun to write an essay about how you performed an exorcist and, like, lie and embellish in your own stories. As long as nobody gets hurt and you just look like an idiot, that's fine. But when priests start thinking that they have the ability to just kill people, I mean, this guy murdered this nun because he believed that she was possessed and he couldn't save her.
Yeah.
And nothing happened to him.
Yeah.
It was fine. And so when you start to cross into that line, you start to really, like, this is all fun because it's in movies and, like, books and stories, and that's what they are. They're stories, and that's what makes them fun. But when lives start to get lost, it's a different story.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at burning witches in history. Look at, drowning. Well, yeah, almost always women. Funny. Funny. We have this sexist history.
Not
Bobby
funny,
Jindal.
ha, ha.
No.
No.
Yeah, funny. Oh no. Yeah, awkward, different. So just plain weird. Weird stuff, Bobby.
Plain garbage.
We honestly, we have this history, like, once again, like, if your religiosity, right, if your availability bias leans so heavily into the unexplainable, of course you're not going to, like, delve into explainable reasons why not to mitigate yourself and stop yourself from literally murdering another human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about some notable movies that have demonic possession.
All right, hit it.
I figured you'd have some, but I just wanted to write down. These are a mixture of good and bad and otherwise.
Yeah, I've got some. Konosuba, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, Overlord. No, that's all anime.
I thought we would kick it off with one of your favorite movies with your favorite actor.
Hit me.
Ghost of Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Because you love Jason
Okay,
Statham.
well, here's the funny thing about Ghosts of Mars. It's not 100% demonic possession. It's like the ghosts of an ancient civilization on Mars that are possessing human bodies and essentially reincarnating themselves. It's not demons. It's not it's not like the devil was on Mars and planted demon seeds
Took
there.
a vacation.
The thing that I love about the absurdity of Ghosts of Mars is like, from the outside looking in, it looks like demonic possession. What it really is spiritual inhabitants. Like, it's spiritual possession, but not on a, like, hellish level. But they are just murdering things. They do become psychopaths. So.
Well, I included it because I know how much you love Jason Statham and Ice Cube, so I just wanted to make sure that
Dude, okay.
I included that movie.
Ghosts of, 100%. Ghosts of Mars. Look, the guy from Anthrax and Buckethead did the soundtrack. It's fucking John Carpenter. Ice Cube's in it. Jason Statham. Like, just a wild, wild fucking ride of a movie. And there's so many insane practical effects, and it doesn't look amazing, but it's fun. Like, Ghosts of Mars is a great bad movie.
One day.
Magnum Nopus, you get paid to do this now. So, like, yeah, Ghosts of Mars, you probably should talk about it.
Some other ones that I came up with that are a little bit more notable, the Conjuring series.
Yep.
The Insidious series.
Yep. Yeah.
The movie Constantine, based off the comic book, is about demonic possession. He actually performs an exorcist in that movie.
Yep.
One of my favorite scenes is that exorcist movie in Constantine.
The exorcist scene in Constantine. Yes. You said movie.
Have you seen Late Night with the Devil yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, you should.
I know.
I won't say anything else.
I'll get there.
That is probably one of the best on my list.
Okay.
In my opinion, on my list, not in general, just on my list. There's a movie called The Pope's Exorcist, which is super funny to me because it's Russell Crowe and he works for the Pope as his personal exorcist.
Yep.
I haven't seen it, but I'm going to.
Okay.
I found it when I was researching this. Didn't know it existed. Sounds hilarious.
Okay.
The movie Smile, which we have talked about before. I'm a big fan of Smile. That is a demon that possesses people and then makes them kill themselves. So that counts, and also it's just a good movie.
There we go.
The movie Poltergeist with the haunted TV.
Okay.
You could even argue Evil Dead because that's I know that you're a big fan of that, but you could.
Oh no, Evil Dead is demonology. It's the Necronomicon. Yeah. It is like I would actually say Evil Dead is probably the high bar for well-made demon possession related content.
Agreed.
Yes.
I should have saved it for last. Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm saving a different one for last,
That's
but
fine.
I should have saved that one for last.
Yeah.
This one is a stretch, but I've been embellishing in the VHS series, and some of those mini segments involve demon possession. Not all of the movie, but if you've ever seen VHS, there's a wraparound segment, and there's like 4 or 5 little segments directed by different people that have like little short horror stories, and they all connect at the end.
Okay.
It's a pretty good series for the most part. Some of the movies are but yeah. And then lastly, the movie that I wanted to kind of bring up was the movie Longlegs. And the reason I bring this up again is because at its core, it is a criminal investigation, detective story.
Yeah, like a hard-boiled, supernaturally
it's like hard detective.
of...
It's like True Detective.
Yeah.
But there is, and it's look, again, I'm not going to say anything else about this movie. I don't want to spoil it. You need to see this movie if you like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the amount of demonic stuff that they just sprinkle in, just barely let you lick it.
Well, that's the misleading information, isn't it? Or it's more of like it's the breadcrumb trail that they want you to follow.
It's so well done.
Good.
Nicolas Cage is incredible.
Cool.
Blair Underwood is incredible. It's just. It's not your traditional possession movie. There are demons in it.
Yeah.
Nobody actually really... No, that's not true. Anyways, yeah, those are the ones that I wrote down just briefly when I was thinking about these. And that is pretty much where I am going to end my report about how demons kind of started in the Bible, worked their way up into pulp culture in the early 1900s, before ballooning in 1973, and we have not slowed down since.
Yeah. I mean, apart from consistently wanting to correct you on they started in the Bible, because they did not. They started in BC.
No.
A long time ago.
I'm saying that the Bible is what popularized them.
Kind of.
Because the Bible is the first well-known book where demons and the devil are included. everybody worldwide.
Actually,
I would.
it's not the so the.
Is there a book more popular than the Bible?
Yes.
That
Well,
that
it's
has
not more
demons?
popular than the Bible. Hold on. So the Bible, first off, the Bible as we know it today is the King James version of the Bible, which was printed around the 1700s. So the version that we have is not even the most accurate and up to date. There are different segments of the Bible that have been cut out over time because different priests have had control over it, and Christianity hasn't been a singular locale dominated religion. So there's a lot of different things that have influenced it, from Constantine to other things. I'm really paraphrasing this so I can get through it real quick. Ultimately, a lot of the parables that come into the Bible are coming from other religions that fed into it, primarily the Old Testament. The Old Testament digs back into even more ancient traditions, and the demons that exist in the Old Testament are the ones that the Bible drew the influence from, which technically, like, yes, there's stories of Jesus doing that, but really, like, what brought demons through from Chaldeans through the Greek tradition and through the Jewish tradition was the fall. It really comes down to the fear of the unknown, and so they're supernatural spirits that are used to explain the embodiments of negative human principles that exist just inherently within us. Where when we allow them to control us, we do what we would generally regard as, if we were watching someone doing it, as the spectator of someone who's embodying these principles that can turn out to be relatively negative. We would call it evil, right? So that's where that really comes from. There are other beasts that performed similar functions alongside daimonos or daemons or demons, right? Back in the day, those being chimera, right? So in Gilgamesh, in Solomon, in so many different books, there's these things that they're either analogous or they were just as popular within culture at the time that were similar to demons. Christianity just happens to take demons and draw them as a through line through its culture as it's educating its masses on the topic, right? There's not a chimera in Christianity. They're not like, beware the chimera, like, don't be too prideful, don't be too sneaky, don't, they're like, no, demons take over your body, and that's specifically from the devil. But even earlier in, if you go back in the old tradition, there's even translated texts where it's like, all right, well, actually the Son of God's first appearance on Earth was as a snake to get humans to understand the concepts of good and evil by eating the fruit of knowledge, because it was actually a blind demon that made the world. Like, you can really, like, it's literally been there the entire time.
Yes, the concept, but my report was about demons in pop culture,
yes.
And the Bible is the earliest piece of pop culture that I could find that demons existed in that's still relevant and used today.
Yes.
Because you're right, Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest written, like, literature that we have that involves an epic.
Yeah.
And, like, there are stuff in there, but I would say more people know about the Bible and the demons in the Bible than they know about Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yes.
I made a judgment call.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, I kept saying that's where they originated. It's where they originated in pop culture that's still relevant and around today, is what I should have said.
Yeah. That, and I would say the Lesser Key of Solomon, that's probably a really good point. Like, if anybody really wanted to do more research on it, looking into the Lesser Key of Solomon, because that's actually, that one's really funny, because, like, we think that being satanic and worshiping demons and stuff has, like, there's so much ritual involved and all these different things and, like, boards and objects and, like, whatever. But, like, really in, like, the Lesser Key of Solomon, there's, like, some of the ways of, like, summoning a demon are like, forget to pray today. If you forgot to pray today, guess what? You summoned a demon, which
you
is
bless your house,
which is where the Ouija board will look at you and say, good luck.
Fucked up.
But yeah, no, that was really good. I liked a lot of that. I think, it's really, you can't mention demons without tying it into the Satanic Panic. Which was a huge thing that did start up with The Exorcist, which was the movie that was kind of the crux of what you were talking about, and bled its way through even into the late 90s, and it still shows up today. Like, there are people who I come across, you were talking about Christianity and stuff, like, there are people who I come across that are like, Christianity is a spectrum, first off. So, like, there are people who I come across that are so Christian that, like, if they saw me wearing this hoodie, I'm wearing one of Holland's hoodies. It says the devil on the back. It's a tarot card. The devil is a tarot card. It's nothing other than the tarot card, the devil, as she saw it and drew it. But, like, somebody, I'm not going to wear this to a church like, because somebody's just going to be like, dude, wrong outfit. Know your audience, right? But, like, But there are people who would see that I even just own that and be like, "Oh, you're going to hell now," and it's like, but on whose accord? Like but yeah. So that's the funny thing about demonology and Christianity and how they walk hand in hand is there's almost and then when you look into Satanism proper as it's practiced, it's still a church. It's still an organized religion. If anything, it's just the mirror image of Christianity mocking it. And like people who are practicing Satanism, it's really funny. Don't even I think a lot of people don't see the inherent hypocrisy there. I talk about this a lot. There's just an inherent hypocritical threshold that you either willingly or unwillingly cross based on the principles and beliefs that you set out for yourself. So like what's really interesting about how demons function throughout pop culture is they still to this day represent a fear of the unknown, because like why are we exercising it? Because we don't know what's happening to this person, but we view it as being bad, right? So we need to get whatever the bad thing is out of them. That's the exorcising of it, right? But then if you look into some of the old mythos of the yesteryear, like part of having a demon like pass through you was like almost a rite of passage. Like it all depends on cultural perspective and where it shifts, but like even today, we still find ourselves expressing demonology, and it's almost always directly intertwined with religion, rather than being its own separate realm of expression of entity and or human experience.
Yes. Sorry.
No, it's good. One thing that I do want to point out in Magic the Gathering, they do a very good job of expressing how demons function, because you can play cards that have the creature type demon on them, and they almost always have like some sort of a benefit to you for playing them, but then also a drawback at the same time. Like in playing demons, you both help yourself in the game as far as trying to win. They are associated with black, which is like the color of pride, selfishness, like being your own person and doing whatever you want at whatever cost, right? So like playing a demon, you will help yourself to further the goal of winning the game, but at what cost? A lot of times it's life points, things like that. You're sacrificing creatures off the board. Actually, one of my favorite decks in Magic the Gathering is called a Shadowborn Apostle deck, and the creatures, you can have Shadowborn Apostles in the deck. You can have as many as you want in the deck, so you can have 100 if you can't have 100, but like what you do in order to play demon cards in a Shadowborn Apostle deck is you get 6 of them out on the battlefield, sacrifice 6 of them, and then play whatever demon card you want. So it's like it's literally 6 people killing themselves to summon a demon. Like that's how the deck functions. And a lot of times you're like paying life or gaining life depending on how you're playing the deck. It's really, really interesting to play, and it's funny because like it tells the story that we're used to hearing of demonology, of sacrifice and ritual demon summoning and things like that.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. Another thing that I did want to bring up is we also have, of course, we have Hellboy, who's a notable devil in pop culture. Yeah, you didn't even bring it up.
Because he's my jam.
Who will fight demons, devils, he's your jam. And then, of course, there in other realms of pop culture, there's hell in so many different religions. There's demons in so many different religions. There's different layers to it. You have the Inferno. You have like all these different versions of the devil and or demons that exist in Japanese culture. Of course, you have your yokai, right? You have your spirits and different ones. You have your oni, right? Like there's so many different versions of devils and demons that have existed in all of these different cultures. And as they've commingled over history, we've come up with some that end up like performing very specific functions, and some that they're more overarching evil. Like it's really interesting to see that. And even like I made the joke about the demon demon lords in the beginning because like that's a huge thing in anime.
Oh, yeah.
But dark lords exist all throughout literature, like
Darth
for
Vader.
hundreds and hundreds of years. Well, and the Sith, what are they? They're the evil side of the Force,
joke,
right?
But yeah.
Yeah. What? Who? You have Jedi Jesus, and you have evil Sith Lord devils. Like these things just and then even look at the character design of Darth Maul, right? What's he designed to look like? A fucking demon.
Drathomir. He's from Drathomir.
I know, but he's what is the character design, Odie? Not the world building.
He's a son of Drathomir,
but
so he's supposed to look like a Drathomir.
Yes, and the character design of the people who are from Drathomir is based off of
George Lucas's mind
and demons.
Okay.
but it's a necessary part of any world building because even when you're building a world for like D&D or for anything, when you're looking at these different like detective shows or movies or the different ways that we absorb and then absorb and then translate on our own accord and then redecipher and put back out these types of stories is like they're an essential part of the world building because I think on an innate level we really do understand that like people have beliefs, and if people believe in good they also believe in evil, and so the evil portion of that gets expressed through some form, through some sort of a character or an allegory or a medium, through some theme. There's a thematic bleed through, and typically it ends up rearing its head as a demon or an other world or an evil side of the world,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So your jam's Hellboy.
Yes.
Cool.
So my jam is Hellboy the Crooked Man.
Okay.
The new straight to streaming movie. I went ahead and spent the $15. You could only buy it. I bought it. I watched it.
And
it's pretty fun. Look.
Okay.
I
like that.
It's low budget.
Okay.
It feels low budget.
Okay.
And the acting at certain points feels like a fan film. So if those two things don't bother you, I think the story is interesting. I like that it feels like a Hellboy comic where he's doing one thing, that thing gets interrupted, and now he's in the middle of the woods in this weird hillbilly backwoods town where this guy called the Crooked Man is just causing some trouble, and now Hellboy's he's just there. Now he's got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Now it's his problem. Yeah. And the CGI, not very good. The guy that's playing Hellboy feels like he's doing a Ron Perlman impression, but I honestly, and I'm probably going to be in the minority, I think that this one is better than the 2019 one with David Harbour.
Okay.
I've heard people say that this one's like really bad. I think on the whole, I had a good time with this movie. I would call this movie so bad it's good.
Okay.
Because it's not good. It's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, all those things I mentioned, turn-offs for sure. But
yeah.
on the whole, I found myself enjoying the entire movie.
Yeah.
Even though the action has some bad CGI in it, I thought it was creepy. I really liked the sound design. It's a little repetitive.
Okay.
But I think I liked the sound design because the music cues and stuff were so repetitive.
Yeah.
That when they came up, I was like, ooh,
okay.
I like that, But yeah, I think it's pretty good. I don't know why it's getting a lot of hate. Is it as good as the Ron Perlman ones? No. Is it better than the one from 2019? Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. I got a couple jams for you this week. So first jam, straight up, Holland and I came back from the market last night, and like we were at the market and we were like, what are we gonna watch later, because we knew that we were like gonna get back late and crash at her place. And I was like, at first we were like gonna continue watching Little Nemo Adventure in Slumberland, which if you have not seen is a wild ride, and I highly recommend it. It's for free on Amazon right now. It's one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and if you watch it you'll go, I understand a little bit more about why Kevin's so crazy now. But while we were there, I realized that there is a spooky season classic that I have not given enough credit to, nor watched enough in my life, or at least revisited, once every year or every other year, and that is the motherfucking Goonies. That movie is insane, dude. And we came back and we were watching it last night. That movie starts with a dude who's pretending to have killed himself. immediately the movie's like, all right, cool, here's the stakes. Here's where we are. It's insanity, and it's like, it's so funny. We had such a great time just sitting down watching The Goonies last night. What a great spooky season include. I'm not saying it's a must, but I'm definitely saying it fits spooky season more than anything else, because the adventure movie of trying to find this pirate who's like, who apparently killed all of his crew because he just didn't want anyone to ever have his treasure, I guess. First off, the pirate's name's One-Eyed Willie, okay? Second off, when Sean Astin, the actor, as a child next to Josh Brolin, is explaining One-Eyed Willie's treasure, it's the biggest run-on sentence ever, which just makes it believable because they're fucking kids. He's just like, and One-Eyed Willie, he was trying to get away from the Spanish Armada, and then he killed all of his men. And then, like, you're just like, wow, this really is just a kid telling a story. But I fucking love that movie. Like, everything about it is hilarious. And there's even, there's a misunderstood monster man in Sloth in the movie. There's so many good spooky season moments with, like, booby traps and skeletons and fucking dead things and creepy things underground and cave systems. And, like, there's murderers coming after them. Like, there's everything that makes a good spooky season movie wrapped up into a movie that I think if you were trying to come up with a list for spooky season, you might not even think of.
I wouldn't, because I don't like the Goonies.
That's fine. You don't have to like. I thought it was great. I had a great time. I had a great time rewatching it.
I think I watched it when I was too old to appreciate it, because when I watched it, I was like, this is just a bunch of kids screaming. This is just a bunch of kids running around screaming.
That's 100% what it is. But is that not what kids would do in that scenario?
Look, okay, I will fully admit, I don't like the Goonies, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's a bad movie. I didn't like it because I was like, wow, it's just a bunch of kids screaming.
That is what it is. It's a bunch of kids screaming. Which is what I was like, dude, I'm watching the movie. I'm like, that's definitely how I would have been in that scenario. That's definitely how I was as a kid, is just screaming all the time.
Fair. That's why I think I was too old to watch it and appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really good. And you know what's funny? It has a lot of the classic 80s tropes in the beginning. Like they're like, yeah, it's just too bad our house is getting demolished tomorrow for a country club. Like, you're just like, is this every 80s movie just wrapped up into one?
Did you move out yet? Because, like, permits and construction.
They're like, our house is getting demolished tomorrow. There's still so much shit in that house.
Like, I'm saying, like, we'll move out in the morning. It's fine.
They're like, also, my dad's going to lose his job at the museum. Like, it's like, what the fuck why is like, the whole world's bad. And then, but like, what's really funny in watching it now, like, yes, I will suspend my disbelief, but I still have fun. Like, in my mind, I'm like, wait, so getting all of this treasure at the end of the movie solves all those problems magically because you're then able to pay off the people who want the country club, but that I have no idea.
Dude,
it's fucking,
I love those.
I'm not even going to try to logic it out, because it's just like, they're like, we've got fucking treasure now. All of our problems are solved. Like,
I love the idea that, like, a construction crew with, like, bulldozers and stuff shows up to a house, and the kid's just like, I have treasure, and the guys are just like, oh, and they just leave. If I was a construction worker, I'd be like, cool, kid, get out of the fucking way. And then
I like to think that, like,
bulldozed.
Sloth is just pulling people out of fucking tractors and shit, like, out of bulldozers, just, whoa, like, ripping them out, chunks just commanding him. Anyway, that's my jam this week. It's a special little place in my heart, is the Goonies. And then I just wanted to point out really great add-on episode 2 of Dan to Dan, which I watched. It was amazing, and it involves possession, so it's timely. It's timely. Just possession, like aliens. It's dude, it's so wild, and the animation reminds me of Fooly Cooly. And, like, if you like anime and you're able to get through the ridiculousness that is the entire premise of the show, I have a feeling you'll enjoy it. Like, it's just fun and stylized, and it's quick.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I got. Odie, if you were going to be possessed by a demon, what do you think would be the signs? Would it be starting up a YouTube channel? Would it be getting miraculously, or not even miraculously, suspiciously getting more and more views on that? Would it be getting monetized? Are you following the cult of Mr. Beast? Is Mr. Beast related to Satan? It's
probably. Are you saying that I don't have the talent to grow a YouTube channel organically, that I must have made a deal with the devil in order to get views, Kevin?
I'm saying you're satanic and I'm panicking.